Hello. Welcome to the Level 1 News. Today we are doing business, robot and science. And was that it? Robot and science? Just robot and science.
Robot space.
Space, that's right. I forgot we were renaming that section.
Is it going to be billionaires in space?
I think it's fair to put robot and space together because when will we ever take another space mission that's not mostly robotic?
Well, we had one this week that was not robotic. Though that could be argued.
No, that was totally automated. You think Bezos was
No,
up there pushing
I'm
buttons?
saying, but like there were humans in it.
No, but the ship itself, I would call a robot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much automated. What happens to that thing? Some of it they're running from the ground.
Yeah.
But the guys in the can, they're just money.
They're ornamental.
Just dollar signs sitting in those seats. But we're not talking about that yet. Now, let's talk about red versus blue. Now, you got to take this with a grain of salt because no one's seen it for real. I think actually a couple of people have tested it, but all we have are roughly rumors. But blue says they're back in the lead.
Leaked i9 at 12900K benchmark show gains over the Ryzen 5950X. A new leak for Intel's upcoming Alder Lake. Alder Lake? Alder Lake. Yeah, I knew that. I've heard that before. Why am I an idiot? A new leak. Now, what's weird about this leak is in China, apparently, you can buy these processors and motherboards to go with them on the black market. So what does that mean? Does that mean this is a deliberate leak, more or less? Is this orchestrated? I don't know what to believe
I would think it's deliberate, but
guerrilla marketing. That's what I would call that.
So,
but the gains are supposedly pretty. What was it, like 18 and 20-some% multi-core versus single core?
Yeah,
real big gains. So I'm sure that will certainly not drive a hype train for
off a cliff.
And we don't know what the wattage is, and it's like, because if it's a 100-watt processor versus, this thing operating at 200 watts, okay. But if it's, 100 watts versus like 125 watts, that's pretty good.
I don't think anybody cares. I think they only care about that.
the top line number?
Yeah. That's the only one that matters. If you have to run a generator to run this thing in your house, nobody cares. Just go ahead.
Does your house only have 15 amp circuits and not 20 amp circuits? I'm sorry. You're going to have to step down.
Well, we talked yesterday about the right to repair. Biden has weighed in. Everybody's saying we're going to do it. We're bringing in all these new people into the regulatory agencies that just hate the tech companies. And we need it. Sure, we need it. But I don't know if everybody really understands how bad it really is. Which is why this gentleman is here to tell us.
The iFixit CEO names and shames tech giants for their right to repair obstruction. iFixit chief Kyle Wiens claims Apple, Samsung, and Microsoft are monopolizing the supply chain and designing products to prevent users from being able to easily repair them. He mentioned specifically there's a charging IC from Apple, and Apple requested the manufacturer make a tweak to it, and they have. And Apple also requested that the manufacturer not sell that tweaked version of the charging circuit to anybody except Apple, which makes it very difficult to repair because guess what? That's one of the things that dies in a pretty common way on Apple laptops. Same thing with Microsoft, same thing with Samsung.
It's one of those parts where if you do find a place to source it, good luck getting it through customs.
Yeah, because it's like, that's a counterfeit product.
Because Apple will go to them and say they could not have bought this.
You can definitely tell that the government has failed when, as a normal citizen, you look at this situation and you say, this is clearly abusing the rule of law to suppress repairability. Clearly.
But I don't think the average citizen is aware. I don't think they read that article.
Even if they were aware, the politicians should be on top of this kind of thing. That's their job.
And all those companies too, they put out all those things about we're sustainable and we care about the planet. It's but you can only buy repair parts through us.
Yeah, Apple built a disassembly robot to be look, we can recover the things. It's but you're doing this.
Yeah.
Was it, I think it was Samsung where they started that documentation team for the right to repair.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. And then someone at Samsung found out and they buried it over the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And just never let it get off the ground.
Yeah.
They get the headline and then they crush it. So we'll see. Maybe Biden's new administration will save us from all this.
Those CEOs are probably the planet's going to be uninhabitable in 10 years anyway. Let's just go out in a blaze of glory. And it's what? Wait, what?
No, they're planning to go space. We'll be going out in a blaze of glory.
What?
But that's the thing, right? I mean, if you look at the alarmist climate change stuff, if that's true, I'm not saying it is, but if it is, what solution is there other than mass depopulation?
Everyone's standard of living also has to go down.
Store.level1
Text.
That won't work.
Text.com.
That you'll have revolution. People in the streets because you won't let them go to the bar. They know that cannot happen. So, I mean, I'm not on board with letting them decide, but I do kind of feel like, what else we're going to do? Yeah. Google has always rabidly protected the algorithm that returns search results. You're not allowed to know why you are given those search results, probably because they're doing terrible illegal things. But we've always been curious, and now maybe a crumb, maybe one crumb.
Google is starting to tell you how it found search results for you. Like, this is based on your search the other day for this other thing, or this is based on your advertising profile. This is based on, we think that you're more inclined to do technical things than something else. We found it on some rando's blog that you follow. Those kinds of things.
And presumably, you can try to undo, be like, no, that's not me. Stop showing me that.
And then you give them more information about how to build more advertising profiles.
Yeah, basically you're sharpening your profile every time you do that. Although you could give them disinformation, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the way
We've
to
talked
go.
about that before.
But I mean, you could go through this system and explicitly give. Someone's building a bot right now, some hero, a disinformation
Browser
bot.
plugin.
Yeah. I didn't really experience much of this.
No.
But I did hear about it, and I guess because it was during the workday and I wasn't using any of these services at the time.
Banks, brokerages, PSN, and the Steam store went down on a massive internet outage. It was Akamai. Akamai had a DNS problem. They're an upstream CDN provider. When the CDN has problems, everybody has problems.
And the CDNs are overwhelmingly the most of the internet at this point.
Yeah.
So, sucks if you're dealing with it. It wasn't out for too long, though, was it? I can't remember.
No.
A few hours, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
But that's the second time that Akamai's had a major incident in just a few months. So I expect that heads will roll.
Well, it said just over an hour, but at just over an hour, the economic impact had to be insane.
A very large number of zeros is on that number.
I didn't have any clients email about that, which surprised me.
I had a few things that I had to deal with because of it, but it was
Well, we aren't. None of our stuff is hosted.
No,
to that,
but
right?
like sometimes you'll still get a client who's like, "This site won't load. What's wrong?" And it's like, "Well, I don't
all
know."
the pictures are missing. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that comes from a different CDN.
Yeah.
So, the Brits, they lost ARM. They lost that other chip fab that they had. They lost another software company like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Guys, hang on to these. This is not the time to be doing this.
Tencent is buying British game studio Sumo for $1.27 billion. Now, Tencent and Sumo have a business relationship that goes way back. Tencent already owned like 8%, 8.24%, something like that. Now they're going to buy a majority share in them, and that actually represents a 40% premium over their stock price. So they're going to continue to develop games and blah, blah, blah. They're going to do something with one of the studios in Toronto. Was it Tencent Toronto? They're working together on some kind of collaboration. So Tencent has definitely got plans for them. Probably now's not a good time to have, an international incident involving China.
Especially if you're a member of several treaties that will require you to take arms against them if they do certain things. Yeah, could get messy. Now, previously we talked about Mastercard getting into the whole pay with crypto type of deal. And I couldn't help but wonder, how are you going to float all that crypto while you settle those transactions? That seems like a way to lose a ton of money. And clearly they have an answer.
CoinDesk reports that Mastercard is going to test USDC for payments as stablecoin scrutiny intensifies. Mastercard will use the USDC stablecoin as a bridge asset for cardholders who want to pay for goods using cryptocurrency.
So when you pay, instead of your crypto being converted to dollars, your crypto gets converted to US dollar coin, which is tethered to the dollar. Its fluctuation, or its value doesn't fluctuate. And then later it will settle into the actual crypto. So not as much risk.
For who?
For Mastercard.
Yes.
Yeah. And Jack Dorsey owns Twitter, obviously, but he also owns Square, the payment company, and he's looking to do the same kind of thing.
Square is going to create a new Bitcoin platform for financial services. CEO Jack Dorsey tweeted, the still to be named division's primary focus will be Bitcoin.
Now, yeah, that's just word salad, don't you think? What does this mean?
Payment services company Square will open a new business focused on creating an open developer platform to make it easier to provide non-custodial, decentralized financial services. So my interpretation of that is we're going to provide an API gateway that lets you handle money. So like you know how you have a PCI gateway right now for credit cards? That's what it reads to me like he wants to create. So like if I wanted to create, like a local Craigslist type app where people could, buy stuff through and, pay it and do that kind of stuff through crypto. I don't have to do the crypto part of it. I can just use his platform.
But you're assuming a lot there.
Yeah.
Based on that description, I don't think we
can't count on that.
We don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah. But that's to meet all of those buzzwords, it would have to be something like that. Like PayPal, but for crypto.
But it sounds like MasterCard's way ahead of him.
Yeah, it does.
He does have a lot of money, though, so I'm sure he'll be fine. And, sadly, I would say that this man is maybe the biggest public face of Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is...
to the moon!
So he has definitely moved this market in the past with some of his comments, and I think maybe he's trying to walk some of that back at this point.
Tesla will most likely, quote unquote, start accepting Bitcoin as payments, says Musk. So they did. This is a restart. So they did, then they stopped. There's some volatility. They took some heat because it's like, well, they're participating in this thing that potentially has serious ecological damage because of all the energy that it requires, which could be going to something, quote unquote, more worthwhile.
And the risk to the shareholders.
Yeah.
Which is probably the main reason that they stopped.
It's not his money he's risking here. It's Tesla's money. So not everybody loves that. But...
buy low, sell high.
And he could easily do that if he took the payment and held it. Unless it never does.
Well, that's what he said they were literally doing, and that was what some of their gains were last quarter or the quarter before.
Oh, yeah, they made a lot of money on it. They didn't make any money on cars. Made a lot of money on Bitcoin and government subsidies. But for all that I have to say bad about Tesla, and I have nothing but bad things to say about Tesla, this you have to applaud.
Yes.
They're doing it for self-serving reasons, I would say, but it is going to help everybody.
Tesla plans to open its charging network to other EVs later this year. You think this is going to be like bowling shoes where like you open a drawer and there's a bunch of different adapters depending on what kind of car you're and they're just kind of crusty and covered with filthiness?
That would definitely lead to fires if we gave people the autonomy of dealing with that. I don't know. That's a good question. But Biden set aside all that money to build out the electrical charging infrastructure. So how do you think this will affect that?
I think that they're going to
that might be why they're doing it.
Yeah, they're going to look at this and be like, oh, we can get some Biden subsidy money. Yeah, sign us up.
Yeah, that might be the whole reason. I wonder if you can do that retroactively.
Can Tesla charge on other EV stations, like just generic ones?
I think Teslas are really the only ones that are out there right now, aren't they?
There's some other cars that do electric as well.
But a lot of those you just charge at home, I think.
Yeah, you got to put a 200-volt circuit in your garage or whatever.
Well, there's there's a charging station not far from where we are, like right up the road, but it's not Tesla branded. It's just generic. So I wonder if you could charge a Tesla at it. Probably.
I'd say they have to, right? Because what percentage of EVs are Teslas right now? It's got to be huge, doesn't it? They probably got 40-50% of the market.
I was amazed that we even had a charging station down the road from us, but it's there. It's just like 2 or 3 little things, but...
It's not a fast charging station.
No, it's not.
Well, that's the other good question. Do you think that as they improve the chargers, will it get to a point where they're like, well, we're not comfortable rolling out this speed of charging to the Volkswagens?
Yeah, it's like, you got to use this little unsettling adapter, so you're going to get the slow charge.
That's just horrible coil whine the entire time. Heats up the car and the inside.
I can't wait for the viral video of like playing Beethoven's Ninth on the coil whine while it's charging.
But one car company who will definitely move the needle in terms of charging stations and the state of EVs is one of the big luxury car brands.
Mercedes-Benz is going to go all electric by 2030.
Not really.
No.
If you read the comments, he was like, well, let's not worry about all electric. I think majority electric is what we're going here. Now, maybe we'll make some gasoline engines. Maybe we will.
The luxury sedans are all going to be electric, but then we're going to have an extra luxury sedan if we think we can charge more for it, and that one will still be gas.
But that is a tight timeline.
Yeah.
You think they'll actually, all these companies will hit these, or will it be like the ISPs?
No,
It'll
they
be
won't
like
give
the
a shit.
ISPs.
Yeah.
Probably. Well,
It's going to show up and be like, wait, the planet's still habitable in 2030? Oh, man.
we didn't plan for this. If you are one of the people who has the various streaming dongles, smart devices on your TV, or if your TV is just smart, I'm sure that you hate it.
Yes.
It is the worst thing that ever happened to television.
The new LG operating system is just pure garbage.
Oh, it's bad. And that probably drove a lot of sales of this device, but even it was not immune.
NVIDIA Shield TV owners are pissed about the banner ads in Android TV. So a lot of Shield early adopters, a lot of Shield evangelists, it seemed like a good product. Well, they revamped things, and now there is a huge banner that advertises things that you may be interested in. NVIDIA doesn't want to call that an ad, but it will
Recommendation.
it will recommend you things that you're not subscribed to, like Disney Plus.
It will recommend things to you for companies who have given NVIDIA money.
That sounds like an ad.
Oh, I guess by the classical definition, maybe, but no, that's not what it is.
Is the ad just like on the home screen, or is it like everywhere?
Yeah, I think it's on the main menu. Yeah.
Couldn't we put something more useful there, like the media that I have?
And one of the things that the Shield owners apparently celebrated in the past was look how fast and clean this UI is compared to every other smart TV platform.
And now not so much.
Sad days. Another company that is making a decision that you would never think possible, and it's sad. It's crushing, but they're probably going to do it because money.
LG might sell iPhones in its stores after quitting Android devices. Remember LG? They're not in the Android phone game anymore, but they could cut a deal with Apple to offer iPhones in their stores because, gosh darn it, everybody wants an iPhone.
Do we have pure LG branded stores in the U.S.?
No.
I've never seen that.
That's like a Korean thing, right?
Yes. And Taiwan. They have them in Taiwan as well.
Interesting. And when it comes to Android and iPhone, traditionally there are a lot more Androids out there being sold than iPhones. But
iOS and Android activations now split evenly in the U.S., research shows. Activations of iOS and Android devices are now evenly split. So iOS is winning?
Doing better, I guess.
Well, it's only because Android has become so garbage. Like, I don't know what the Android team is thinking. They've lost sight of what it is they're trying to accomplish.
they're probably being pulled in a lot of different directions by the owner company.
That is very camel built by committee.
Yeah. The iPhone is just evil, but it's so well put together evil. It's slick, it's beautiful.
It has
responsive.
the whole Apple ecosystem where it's like, you just took a nibble of the apple. Why don't you just,
submit.
You got to eat the seeds too. Don't worry about cyanide. TV ratings. I don't watch TV. I don't think anybody here watches TV, right?
No, not
I mean,
really.
we'll watch TV shows in other formats, but have you looked at some of the like CNN? Have you looked at CNN's ratings? No one is watching.
Not only has my own cord been cut for years, but I managed to get Mom to cut her cord between a combination of over-the-air TV and, Netflix type things.
My parents won't give up the local news.
We can get it over
Yeah.
the air.
One time I called them and they seemed a little annoyed, and I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Well, it's 7:00." And I was like, "What?"
Were they watching the news or was it Wheel of Fortune?
I don't understand or maybe it was 6:00. I was like, "I don't understand what you're telling me," and they're like, "Well, it's the news." And I was like, "Well,
You can access the news 24/7 on the internet.
what they're telling you is 12 hours old." And yeah, I know you're going to give us comments about that, but
Yeah.
I was like, "Well," and I was like, "All right, well, okay, I'll refrain from calling during this time in the future."
We're more of a commentary station.
But anyway, everything about that world is Nielsen. The Nielsen ratings, they have a death grip on that industry. And I think the industry is getting a little tired of it.
TV networks want to yank Nielsen accreditation because they say Nielsen is not tracking streaming services. Nielsen is not tracking what eyeballs are doing. It's not really effective anymore because the people that still haven't cut their cord are really starting to skew the metrics.
And Nielsen was like, no, we're not a dinosaur. We're totally relevant. We're going to change things.
The only way that Nielsen could continue doing what they do is to have an app on your phone that's always on recording, fingerprinting the media that your phone can hear.
Well, they actually already do that. So they've gone away from the journals. There's now a thing that you wear.
Yeah.
And it picks up those high frequency ultrasonic sounds, I guess. But even that, why do we need that when every platform now has analytics?
Yeah.
Right.
They can tell us exactly what people are watching if we trust them. But do we trust Nielsen?
I would love it if Nielsen could get stats on pirated media because it's like, oh, we've made it, we've required you to sign up for Disney plus in order to see that. It's like, that's weird. Nielsen is reporting that we have 50 million viewers. And it's like, yeah, 50 million people are tired of your BS.
Now, they did that with, maybe it was the last episode of Game of Thrones. Somebody figured out how many times it was stolen.
That's funny.
And I think they figured out that it probably wouldn't have moved the subscriptions very much.
Yeah.
Even though it was a big number. Because people just wouldn't do it.
I'll say, who wants to watch the last episode of Game of Thrones? It's, ugh.
I mean, there are a lot of people out there who just will not submit to the insanity. They're just like, you know what? There's too many ads on TV now. I'm out.
Well, today, as we're filming this today, not, today's the 23rd. Today's the day for Masters of the Universe Revelation.
Oh.
Ooh, I'm hyped. Actually, I think it's going to be terrible.
Can we do a watch party on Twitch?
It's Netflix.
It's not.
But I will not sign up for Netflix to get that. And even if that was the only way I could get it, because it's not, I still wouldn't do it. I would just not watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in that category.
And that is like, my nostalgia meter is just, there's mercury all over the floor and there's a burst top. I know they're going to ruin it, but still, I won't pay you for it. Sorry.
I have that same kind of aversion with Star Trek because it's like I've paid for the right to watch Star Trek in all of its glory. I don't need to rebuy it. I don't need to subscribe to watch old episodes.
I think my feelings about this are going to be synonymous with your feelings about Discovery.
And same with me watching the Lord of the Rings series next year.
Do we have a release date for that yet?
They said 2022. They didn't say when, because Wheel of Time's coming out this year.
I saw a clip that was posted to the internet from one of the episodes that had like the time code on it for something that they were working on for special effects or whatever. And I don't know what it was, but it was like an elf talking to something, and it did not look like it was going to be great.
No,
really?
I'm kind of worried. I hadn't seen that leak. There were some other leaks from the One Ring this week.
But that's pre-effects.
Yeah.
But the dialogue was just like...
There was sample scripts that got leaked early on when they were doing like the casting process, and the dialogue was not great in those either. They did not capture Tolkien's writing style, but maybe that was just a sample script. So maybe it's okay. Maybe it'll get better, but we'll see.
Well, Google made a bit of an oops this week, and thankfully, with open source, we get to see just how much of an oops. And you got to feel bad because we've all done it.
Yeah.
Maybe not on a production system of this scale, but we have all done it.
Google pushed a one-character typo to production, breaking Chrome OS devices. They broke a conditional statement that verifies passwords, and a fix is rolling out. So if you were one of the unfortunate people to get that update, you can't log into your device. Your options are to wipe it or wait until your device downloads another update at some point randomly between now and like a week from now.
What was the issue? 1 ampersand.
Look at that.
You can look at the diff here. They left out an ampersand.
Oopsie.
That will compile, but it won't work.
And now someone had to add a new test to the integration test.
But how do you push an update without logging in?
Because it's all automated. It's like...
No one's testing it? No human?
No, because they probably automated it all, and they didn't have a test for that in the automated tests.
It's disgusting.
That's what Microsoft did. That's how we have Windows 10 in the state that it's in. We can test automatically. No, you can't.
It's easy to get hyped about space travel. I mean, the idea, the things that they're doing, the math and science that is on display when a rocket goes into space is staggering. And usually people are like, oh, I feel good about my country doing this. You know, imagine how good we felt about the space program, you know, like in the 60s.
Yeah.
People did not share that enthusiasm about this one, and I can understand why.
Jeff Bezos on the critics of billionaires going to space. Well, you know, they're probably mostly right.
The other thing he said after arriving back was, you all paid for this. And I was like, tone deaf, you're going to get shot in the street.
Now, he did actually, to try to, because he knew this was coming, he'd already arranged to donate $100 million to something, and almost nobody covered that. But Jeff Bezos did donate $100 million to
and how much did he spend on the space flight?
Oh, a lot more than $100 million.
But that's like you or I donating $10,000.
No, like $5.
Yeah, for him, yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure I've given more value meal to like the homeless guy on the corner than Jeff Bezos. The percentage wise of that, it's just like.
But that's unintended consequences. You're harming him.
Because of the.
I like too that this article comes from the Make It website, which is like supposed to be, you know, inspirational stories about entrepreneurs, and it's like, why are you featuring Jeff Bezos on here?
It's CNBC. Maybe.
Yeah, like that's like a certain like section of their site that's supposed to be inspirational.
There were two amazing things. One is Jon Stewart released a video that had some of his actor friends in it, which was funny. And then also somebody released a cut of, I think it was the scene from Austin Powers where like the rocket is coming back to Earth with Dr. Evil on it.
Yeah,
and it
was a good one.
It was like because the rocket was kind of phallic. And that was really funny to be reminded.
And by kind of, it's very phallic.
The Blue Origin rocket is basically a penis. And the flight pattern, because if you guys didn't watch it, the Blue Origin did not go into any kind of orbit or anything like that. It just went straight up and came to just a penetrating motion. If you looped it, it would just be thrusting into space. And you know, I mean, it's kind of what he does to the Earth, right?
Well, and yeah, there was another post. Again, there was a lot of good comments, a lot of good nuggets from his press thing after he did this. And he was like, it's so empty up there. We should fill it with junk. And it's like, what? What's wrong with you?
It was, we need to move all the, like our blue marble is so fragile. We need to move all the polluting stuff into space.
And it's like, how do you think this stuff gets to space? Do you think that just goes up there magically? Or do you think they pollute the atmosphere to do that?
Via an Origin Prime subscription, obviously, Krista. So, yeah. People not too hyped about that. You think this will color Musk's ascent to the stars? Will people be already turned off?
I don't think he cares either.
It's funny that you mentioned that because there was a bit of a pissing contest between Bezos and Branson because Branson only went 50 miles to the edge of space and they went 62 miles to the edge of space. And so Bezos is like, no, technically I'm farther out in space. It's just like, oh my God.
It's just dick measuring.
It really, well, like, right, you think about all the space race stuff we did before, and it's like, think of all the cool things we got from that and like the public good that did in terms of research and technology. And it's like, what are we getting from this? Well, but the answer is nothing.
Well, we probably are getting a lot actually, but are we getting a third less because now we have 3 companies basically duplicating the same thing?
Yes.
Maybe.
I guess you're getting like the best of the 3 options because they're not necessarily doing exactly the same thing.
But you know what we're getting 3 times as much of? Arsenic in the atmosphere.
Which is important. We need that. Well, it seems like a crazy thing to me. Like, how many Disney lawyers have been working around the clock for the last week since this story came out?
Well, since this story broke, we'll be reporting next week that the company has decided to fold.
Yeah. Well, they didn't decide. The Magic Kingdom decided. But, Krista, are you still one of these sharers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. But you are doing it with actual family and friends, right?
Yeah. It's actually all family. We share accounts.
And this service, you know, in the terms, they're like, now you can only do this with family and friends.
Wink.
But in reality,
this site helps you get cheaper prices for subscriptions from Netflix and Disney Plus. How does it do that and get, you know, in a way that is congruent with the terms of service of Disney Plus, Netflix, etc.? They say, hey, your family can use your plan. That's true. Depends on the plan. You can have a bigger family on some of the Netflix plans or a smaller family on some of the other ones. It's like, we help your family use your plan, but your family can also share the cost. That's pretty cool. Like, because you know that, some of your family are basically deadbeats, and if they're like, hey, I'll contribute $5 to your Netflix subscription, this is a technological way to enforce that, which is really awesome.
But most people probably don't use it in that matter. In fact, Fast Company did this story, but there was an update.
Yeah, the editor got banned from the service because he wrote the article and they reached out to them to ask for comment, and they're like, oh, you used this against the terms of service. I'm sorry, but we have to ban you. But a lot of people will accept connections from just any rando on the site. So it's like, hey, I've got a Netflix subscription. I'll just put it up on the site.
Literally the majority of them. Why, if you were going to do this with your family who's in the same house, because that's part of the terms, why would you not just give them a couple of bucks? Why would you run it through all these?
Because family is awful.
You're living with them. So this is really for people to use too. And that's a wink and a nod. So you can go on here. But the way this is shared, you literally just get the password. So if a bad actor gets into your thing, they can shut you right out.
Yep.
Terrible idea.
Then you got to make some calls, and then you got some explaining to do.
Tell me, do you think this is a worse idea than MoviePass?
I think this is a worse idea.
It is worse, because at least with MoviePass, it's like, that's just a bad deal. This could be a security problem.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. And I think the two companies will end up in the same way. Well, it might be time to get hyped for a new GTA announcement.
This makes me so angry because I probably would buy the game, but not now.
Oh, come on. We're gonna buy it and stream it. What are you talking about? How do we know? Have they done a press release or something like that? How do we know something new is coming? No, none of that. We know something new is coming because they've done something terrible.
Take-Two has been issuing takedowns for GTA mods. Vice City and GTA Underground are among popular mods taken offline. There was a big kerfuffle a few years ago. Some of you may have forgotten. Rockstar, in my opinion, behaved badly with respect to modders and in the modding scene.
Well, was it Rockstar or was it Take-Two?
Well,
it was Take-Two.
Yeah. They posted on their forum, their user forum, in 2017. They were like, all right, just follow these rules and everything will be fine. Those rules were updated in 2019. They didn't change anything, but the new rules that they added were your mods can't reuse intellectual property from other games. So if you make a mod for GTA 5, it has to only use intellectual property from GTA 5. You can't use intellectual property from GTA 3, even if you own both games. And the other thing is you can't make new missions or stories or anything, which is the most amazing thing for Skyrim mods. The things that finish the stories and add new stories, and Oblivion,
new
where it
features,
had the generator, the procedurally generated things, and you could add stories to go with that. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And there's stuff like that for GTA 5. Nope, all gone. They're taking it all down.
Why? Well, a lot of people are speculating that it's either they're hyping up for GTA 6, but more likely they're hyping up for a remaster of some of the old games. Some of these games had already built the old games in the newer engines. Yeah. So that'd be a competitor.
If they're going to do like Nintendo, they're going to take all those the ROMs that people previously ripped it and just package them up and be like, oh, look what we did.
They're going to
didn't do anything.
They're going to do what I did in college sometimes. They're going to go through and just change the variable names.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, terrible thing. Well, AI does amazing things for us, but mostly in the modern day, it just kind of crushes dissent and makes our lives horrible and shows us awful things that make us hate each other. But sometimes they do something good. However, this could also be used for terrible things.
Google turns AlphaFold loose on the entire human genome. The AI-driven structural predictions are being shared through a public database. So we've got several articles about this. I don't know if you cut all of them or whatever.
They were the same. I just cut the other one.
Okay, this one's from Ars Technica. And so it is up. We've turned the AI, the one that played Go, we've turned it loose on protein folding. And except for a couple of edge case scenarios, which was not in the original data set, we've been able to use enough of the data that we've empirically collected by observing protein folding to train this AI. And it's figured out a lot of things about the mechanics of protein folding. In some scenarios, it only applies to 86% or whatever of the proteins in the human genome, because some of them don't actually fold in any predictable way, and some of them only fold based on the presence of other proteins. The AI doesn't handle those. But most of the other proteins, it's figured out really well.
And the shape of the protein, which we previously did not know, is actually a huge indicator of how it will interact with other things. And there can be a lot of diagnostic data. For example, let's say that you had something that you would expect to not have a certain kind of protein, like a spike protein, but it's there. Why is it there? But we're not allowed to ask those questions. So don't ask that question. But you can ask other questions about the proteins.
Woo.
Autonomous driving has so far been limited to very easy driving areas. Was that what place is it in Arizona? It's just a grid. It's just a perfect grid.
And it's flat and dry.
Outside of like Phoenix or somewhere.
And it's a desert. You probably don't get a lot of road decay in the desert, right? There's no water to get in between those cracks. But one company is saying, you know what? That's easy mode. We don't waste our time with that. We go hardcore mode.
Intel's Mobileye begins testing autonomous vehicles in New York City. I saw a demo of this at Computex in 2018, and it was pretty impressive in 2018. So they've been working on it continuously the last 3 years. New York City.
Now they're keeping it small. 2 cars.
It's a small data set.
2 cars going to be roaming around New York City. They are going to slowly increase that to 7. So we'll see. The amazing thing here, of course, we have Musk, who says, LiDAR, radar? Nah, you don't need that. And then he has a fleet of cars that are constantly doing horrible things out there. Other companies are saying you have to have that. That's the only way to do it. Mobileye is saying, you know what? We're going to do both. One car is going to be camera. The other car, LiDAR, radar. And later on, we'll join them together to a more powerful car.
Seems good.
Interesting approach. Although it probably does mean that one of the cars will do way worse and might cause problems, right? Got to break a few eggs. In the United Arab Emirates, they have a lot of money, but you know what they don't have? Precipitation. So how do you solve that problem? Obviously with robots.
Drones are zapping clouds with electricity to create rain in the UAE. Isn't this exciting?
Traditionally, you drop salt into those clouds, and some people are like, what are the long-term effects of that? Should we really be just dropping salt in the clouds? And they're like, all right, fine, we'll shock them. Does that make you feel better, hippie?
Whatever way to dump lots of electrons into them, I guess.
And apparently it's working. They showed some videos here of rain falling.
Could they do that in California or Canada right now?
I think you can do it anywhere there's clouds. Aren't you creating a deficit somewhere, though, doing that? There's got to be a price.
There has to be a problem, yeah. That causes, like, maybe it sucks moisture from other regions.
Engagement challenge. Oh, yeah, because those clouds are going to move and dump it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Is it going to be one of those things where it's like, if you build a dam, everybody downstream from you suffers?
Yeah.
If you seed your clouds, everybody, further down the thermals suffers, right?
Why are all the plants dying 50 miles from here? Well, they didn't get any water.
It didn't rain here, but it's raining in the city where we don't really need it for food production.
Las Vegas is green all of a sudden. But downtown Austin is dead. Oh, we already talked about this one. I did put this in nonsense.
NPR is like Jeff Bezos and 3 crewmates travel to space and back in under 15 minutes. Yeah, we didn't mention that it was a really short.
3 minutes of free float time.
It was just long enough to eat a Skittle.
Yeah, he threw a Skittle across, like he was on one side of the capsule, his brother was on the other side. He zero gravity tossed the Skittle, and his brother caught it in his mouth. What a great moment for humanity. Anyway.
Glad billions were spent on that.
Yeah. Do you think as they were descending after that 3 minutes, was there ever a moment where he was like, I really wasted a lot of money today?
Or do you think if you were the candy brand, do you think Skittles paid for that? Or do you think, man, that would be a bad PR move?
Wouldn't Skittles be the worst possible thing to have loose on a spaceship?
Why did they all die? A Skittle got caught underneath a servo. I don't know how this even got here.
The throttle just has a green Skittle jammed down in the bottom of it.
Oops.
The world's richest man died today because of a candy.
I feel like that would make Skittles stock go up.
Skittles, the giant killer. OpenAI is a company that has done a lot of really impressive things with robotics, but it seems like the dark reality of the modern day is that physical robots are not nearly as desirable as just data crunching robots.
Yeah.
OpenAI disbands its robotics research team. We've covered them before. The Rubik's Cube solving robot, it just had the one hand. But this was AI that was so impressive and so well trained that you could alter the characteristics of its physical robotic interface. Like they've got an aperture Velcro tie around 2 of the fingers, and they would learn to adapt really quickly. It's like, oh, the parameters of my robotic interface have changed. That's cool. I'll still work toward the Rubik's Cube solving. Although there was a disconcerting line in there that was, the robotics team, it worked every time, 20 to 60% of the time. And it's like,
It's a pretty wide range.
Do you think some of this might be, the team, they got together and like, oh, look at all these headlines. We went with ARM format. Dog format is the winner. We should have gone dog format.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll start up a new dog, because everybody's got one of those now, robot dog. Turns out that Branson and Bezos were not the only ones looking to fly up there close to the stars, but this one did not have the fanfare.
China launches a secretive suborbital vehicle for reusable space transportation system. Line 2 of this article is, there are no other pictures.
Yeah, we didn't get any footage of this guy. But it's, I think it's similar to Branson's, where there's going to be a space plane on top of a more powerful plane to get you up there, and then a small hop up.
Well, that worked for launching the shuttle. Oh, wait.
Well, it worked for Branson, too.
Well, we did test flights with the shuttle that way, but it was kind of weird.
Well, China's going to do it. And they had tested one previously. Now, this is a long format, like get it up there where it's real easy to stay afloat and stay up there for a long time. Yeah. Like maybe for surveillance.
Or if they could launch something into orbit and then toss a rope down.
I've always been fascinated by the, what do they call that? The space elevator.
Yeah.
Space elevator technology. I think a space elevator would revolutionize our world. But it's a difficult problem to solve, obviously.
Just load up all the nuclear waste on the elevator, because putting all that nuclear waste on a rocket, not safe.
No.
And once it gets into orbit, then we can sort of nudge it toward the sun.
Just a little nudge. Just get it going. And not even the sun. Just get it going out, away from it. I guess the gravity would
Suck it
cause
back.
a problem.
That one YouTube channel got me real excited for terraforming Venus. Let's get on it.
Yeah, YouTube channels are good at getting you hyped.
Getting you hyped, yeah, you're like,
That are
oh,
never
that could
gonna
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is our last story. Now, here's what the challenge I want to give you. Oh, okay, whatever. We got the article or the headline. Imagine, let's say the year is 1990, right? And current day Ryan bursts through a portal into young Wendell's bedroom and says, young Wendell, read this headline. Look at this headline. This is your lifetime. How blown would your mind be? What image would this conjure up? Because this is the craziest headline. We don't think anything about it because it's the world we're living in. But this is the future, folks. This is sci-fi.
Astronomers push for global debate on giant satellite swarms. Working with the United Nations, scientists hope to establish standards for satellite mega-constellations and reduce the disruption of astronomical observations. So we're launching all these satellites in a relatively low Earth orbit in order to provide broadband, because our broadband companies have literally stolen the taxpayer dollars that we've given them to build infrastructure through corruption and greed. And we're doing this instead because there's no other option. They're so entrenched. They're like a little tick in there, and we can't get them out. So we have this mega constellation of satellites, which is really exciting, from a development and, continuation of the species and that kind of thing. Global internet access, free, cheap.
Global swarms. I mean, that's crazy, that description.
Of course, we lose the observability of things in space. Now, what if this is an Illuminati thing? Finally we're getting to a point where you can just go get a $200 telescope and observe the universe teeming with life around us. Well, this could also stop that.
You would have to silence so many of the existing astronomers with access to the good telescopes, though.
Yeah.
That would be a difficult thing to do. But, I mean, it is crazy because you think, well, we've got the Starlink, right? Bezos is doing one. They're doing one in Europe. China's doing one. Wasn't somebody else doing one? I think China's doing one for Africa. Where does it end?
The only reason that I think that probably couldn't be true is because they would go to Elon Musk and be like, all right, you're going to launch a global mega constellation of satellites, and ostensibly it's going to be for providing internet access in the global region. But really, this is a planetary cloaking device, so, the devouring swarm doesn't find us. And he's like, wait, what? The devouring swarm? And it's like, yeah, here's the research, here's the thing, this is, this is above top secret, whatever. We need this to cloak the planet to hide the devouring swarm. And he's like, all right, I'm on it.
That's an excellent story that you just came up with. But I think a more likely story follows that one up until the point where it's like, oh, it's a cloaking device. And they say, oh, no, it's surveillance.
Yeah.
Global surveillance. That's what we wanted it for. I think that's much more likely.
Yeah, that could be the twist at the end. It's like, you stupid billionaires, you've built your own gilded cage.
It's like at the end of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But instead, he's looking at a monitor that's looking at him. And it's like, what did you do? But he has to look at himself.
But if you're a billionaire, you just leave the planet.
Well, no, this is after the Holocaust that's just destroyed everything because of his actions.
That's part two, Chris, is, look, we got to go to a planet that doesn't have any satellites. And then there's just one satellite around Mars.
I don't know, what would his version of the Statue of Liberty be so he could realize that he did it himself? The Gigafactory?
Probably. Yeah.
One of those giant batteries sticking out of the sand.
The Tesla that he sent up, the red one, a long time ago, it was just like on the beach right there. And it's like, wait, that was how it all started.
Somebody needs to do a alien invasion movie where the mothership comes, and then out of the mothership they drop the Tesla full of guys with like guns and shit coming down, drop it on the White House.
That'd be amazing. All right, what do we got lined up for Friday?
Nonsense and whatever we haven't done yet. Did we do security?
No.
Oh yeah, because it's all the NSO stuff.
Yep.
Krista, give us a satellite swarm goodbye.
Bye. Because that kind of makes me a little bit sad.